This crowd rises to its feet. Vaccaro slammed it home. Garland left wing, free ball. Perfect! Garland went to the lane, lobbed to Mobley. Pow! And Allen blocked the shot at the rim. Pow! With the left hand and a foul.
We are thrilled to be joined by Allison Howard, President of Business Operations for WNBA Cleveland. Allison, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here and talking about the new hottest expansion team coming in the WNBA to Cleveland.
Is it starting to get real for you? You know, you obviously had the meeting or the media event with the commissioner this week, and it's you know, it's moving from theoretical to practical really fast. Is this starting to get real for you?
I think it's been real. Quite frankly, ever since we found out that we won the bid, we just go into hyper mode, right? And okay, what can we do now? What are the community events? How can we start to get CLE out into the world? How are we going to stand up the initial payments? How are we going to talk about the opportunities for corporate partnerships? How are we going to hire? Who are we going to hire? I mean, the list kind of goes on and on. So, one of the things that I'm so grateful of is, and one of the things I love referencing is this beautiful long orange runway that we have leading us to 2028. But I will tell you, we are going to use every single second of it to make sure that we are more than fully prepared.
It's been really exciting to see what the reception is, right? Like, we know that Cleveland is a basketball crazy market. It's a city that loves its sports, but like, the reception has been incredibly strong. 3,500 initial payments in the first 36 hours, up to 7,000 now. Can you speak to the passion of this market for basketball and what this warm welcome from the city means to you?
It's been overwhelming in the best way possible, right? I'm new to Cleveland. I've only been here just over a year. I am from Michigan. I went to school at University of Dayton, go Flyers. So I'm familiar with this, but not to the depths of what I have been able to really immerse myself with just in the last 13 months of, representing on the Cavs, Monsters, and Charge roles. So I think what's been emotionally positive is to hear from so many different people of what this means to them, and from all walks of life, right? Unmarried, every color, male, female, straight, LBG, like everything, right? Everybody is just the stories that they share with me of what it means that, maybe they were in Cleveland when the Rockers were here originally, and what that meant to them and the memories that they have there. And then what now it means to them now that maybe they're a parent, right? Or now they're a lot older and they make their own money and they've been watching women's sports and they're a fan of the Fever because that's only 5 hours away from us, right? And now what it means to them to know that this is going to be in their hometown, it gives us an extra pep in the step. I mean, it makes us really, really proud of everything that we do every day to be committed to this community.
You mentioned the support of ownership. What does kind of having that existing infrastructure in place, in addition to the passion of the market, how did that contribute to your decision to, accept this position in Cleveland?
It was a huge portion of it. So I've worked in sports for 20 years, and I have had some absolutely great experiences. But I have never worked for an organization that is run by Dan Gilbert as our chairman and led by Nick Barlage. I mean, it is, if you need it, you will get it. And that is really hard to come by in sports. Sports is very expensive, right? And you could kind of always say yes to the trips or this gift or this third-party report that, we really need for this or this new position. And to know that if you really need it and you can state your case about it, it will come to you, only leads to greater success. But it is a different mentality that Dan brings, that money and dollars do not lead, they follow. And that comes through into everything that he does, including this W team, right? I mean, we were not expecting to have me stand up and be the president at 32 months in advance, to hire our SVP of corporate partnerships and strategy and our VP of ticketing and 7 other people by the end of this year. But coming out of the bid or the announcement and seeing how successful that it was with, the 3,000 IPs in the first 30 hours and not really putting a ton of marketing behind it. It was like, we had to take a step back and say, we need to stand this thing up now. Like, the community is hungry for this, right? And then it just continues to prove that to us. We were trying to be cute and drop new merchandise at the 28th of every month. And then the fans were like, but no, I want slides now. And I want, the polos now. And now it's starting to get a little cooler in the morning. So like, how can I get more sweatshirts? And so then it's like, okay, we just got to get the stuff out like every 7 to 10 days, right? And it keeps just getting fed, right? And so it's a great testament to the appetite is certainly there when you put it forth.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that does lead me to a question I have about just this runway. 2028 might feel kind of far away to the layperson, but I'm sure it feels a little different in your seat. How has the process been in spinning up all these functions that are required to get the team moving before anyone even picks up a basketball? Like before you get to, the roster and the front office and all that stuff. How challenging and how much fun has it been to kind of spin up something almost from scratch to build up all this infrastructure?
Yeah, so it's exciting, right? And there's 2 things that I think are the big different, what we call the diff, like the big diff in here. One is we have so many resources. I mean, we have 534 full-time team members here. So I can, the people that right? Like they are leaning into us on anything to do with the W. The marketing team, the IT team, like we have such a great amount of people that already understand our brand guidelines. And by brand, I mean REG, of just how we want to be seen in the community, that there's a lot of people I can depend on to help. And then number 2, I did this at Kansas City Current, and that was, in no disparaging remark, a much smaller operation, right? There was 20 people that were there when I started. They maybe have like 50 people there now. And, it was different, but it was kind of the same. Like, where you have to prioritize. Number 1, you got to get out into the community. I mean, this is by far the biggest piece of advice that I tell people. You got to let the community know who you are. And even last night, we were at the W Sports Bar, and it was Tamsin, our SVP of Corporate Partnerships and Strategy, Kirsten Green, KG, who's our VP of Ticketing for the W, and myself. And we were just out letting them know who we are and what we stand for and our vision for what's going to happen, in the next year. And I'll tell you, we can plan and we can prepare, but we have to be flexible and be willing to pivot. In fact, I was just having a meeting before this, if we really take off in corporate partnerships land, right? And we're already getting the inbound calls from these brands that, quite frankly, want to be our patch partner, right? Or want to be involved with us as we're out here in the community and a part of this All for Fun tour and a part of hitting 85,000 youth over the next year. And so if we're going to need some additional resources because those conversations need to happen sooner, then that's that opportunity will always be available, right? If we need to push some things forward.
You mentioned, the restocks that you've had to do with the merchandise, and I know a lot of our listeners have been sharing that, right? Like they're locked in, they're looking ahead to what that draft class is going to look like, heading into 2028. Like the people that listen to this podcast are the sickos of the sickos. How can fans that are excited about what 2028 is going to mean and are looking to engage both with the team and the brand at large, what are some of the things that are going to be available for them to remain engaged, kind of as we're exploring this kind of bright orange runway, as you called it?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's a couple of things I always like to remind people. If you're a fan of women's sports, really up until recently, you have had to work so hard to be a fan of women's sports, right? It's been really hard to find out where the games are. It's been maybe a long drive for you or a flight if you don't live in a major city. And quite frankly, the merchandise has kind of been crap. And so, you know, and maybe the social isn't as good as what we have here, right? And so, but now there's so many different ways to be a fan, right? And I think there's some easy ways. For us, go to WNBAcleveland.com, and that's where you can become an IP holder. It's only $28 to make your first deposit, right? Your first payment. And we are time stamping those. So we already have almost 7,000. I think we're going to get to 20,000 by next summer. And, you know, the reality is to make sure that tickets are available for everybody. Now, I can't be quoted on this, but, you know, we'll probably cap season ticket membership in the 7,000 range, right? So I fully do expect a wait list. And we're going to have to walk people through all of the different options for the hospitality, for your location of where you want to sit, what your different, you know, your benefits package is going to entail. And so the biggest thing is WNBAcleveland.com for a lot of the information, also where you can find out about our merch. And then obviously on social. But, you know, I'm going to be out and the team's going to be out here. We're hosting some Cavs preseason events on the 7th and the 14th here at Rocket Arena. We're also doing something around the Monsters home opener on the 18th. And then we're going to be out at different happy hours, at different youth clinics where you can just kind of understand who we are and what we represent and the things that we want to accomplish in the community. And also probably most importantly is we're here to listen and hear back from the community, right? What do they expect from this team? What do they want to see from this team? And really do a good job of just listening to the community and the fans.
That's an amazing answer, and it's really excited to see how you're going to engage with that local community. And yeah, and by the way, don't worry about getting quoted or misquoted on this show, because we can't be held accountable to our own words on this show, and we ensure that we aren't.
We also never get aggregated too.
Yeah, so don't worry about us.
It's just a constant disclaimer that you put out.
Just a perpetual, we're two idiots that don't know what we're talking about. You mentioned something that kind of caught my ear, which is that, you know, in the past, the challenge in terms of finding women's sports if you're a fan, and, you know, that if you were a W fan in the Ohio area, you would have quite a bit of distance to travel. And even after this team launches, that's still going to be true for other markets. It kind of, especially extending eastward, where, you know, the W is not at a point where they have 30 NBA teams covering huge percentages of the country where you don't have to go that far. How much thought has your team put into expanding into some of these other underserved areas, even outside of the very clear Cleveland metro area, or even some of the other cities within Ohio?
A lot, because we already take advantage of it, quite frankly, with the Cavs. You know, I mean, Detroit is close to us, but we have a huge following in Pittsburgh, in Buffalo, down in Columbus. So all of Ohio for sure. But then going east, where they don't have an NBA and don't have a WNBA team. And, even when Philly gets their team, you know, I think because Philly and Pittsburgh constantly have this rival with each other.
Barely in the same state, says this unbiased observer.
They're never going to root for a Philadelphia team. So it's really intentional. And we do a lot of work there, especially with the youth sports. And that's really been our first connection point. And that's been something we have been very, very deliberate about for many, many years.
It's so cool. Like from a timing standpoint, it just seems like there is such a surge of national attention, like surrounding the WNBA, and you know there's so much positive momentum. It just feels like this announcement's really coming at that perfect time. How do you plan to engage, you know, the local market, from developing fans to embracing, local girls basketball institutions from the elementary level all the way up to the WNBA?
So there's one extra thing I want to say, and just quite frankly give a big plug to not only the league but also the other existing teams. Jess Smith, president of the Valkyries, I mean, like the darling of the league, I might say right now, because they have just killed every record. I'm
on both
obsessed that
on and off the court, it seems, with that org.
Right. And so Jess and I got to know each other because she was at Angel City when I was at the Current. And so, but she and so many other presidents around the W are just arms wide open. Here's what's worked for us. Here's where we've fallen flat, or here's a big challenge. And so we are like 3 playbooks ahead of the game of in another situation where maybe some teams, especially that have been successful, keep things a little bit close to the chest. And so I think that's going to be a real differentiator for the W to continue on this hockey stick trajectory, quite frankly, over other even new expansion teams in men's leagues, right? But the big focus for us making sure that we're really in the community and showing up in the right way. We have the largest youth sports department out of any NBA team. Like, that is how much we care about this community and making sure that we are showing up for clinics and coaches development and camps, and even just these pep rallies that we do to go out and make sure that different teams know about us and can really realize what sport can do for you as a person, you as, a community. And so I think what we'll continue to work with those existing schools, but, I think I said before, we worked with 70,000 youth sports or youth in sports last year, and we're increasing that by 20% by next summer is our commitment. And that is going to be heavily based on working on girls and basketball, and having dedicated camps, dedicated clinics, dedicated programming. That was a part of our commitment that we announced on Tuesday with the press announcement, that we're going to have 28 different ones to start. Right. And then, but we also want to, we make these plans, but we always want to give ourselves the flexibility to be honest if something didn't work, or if there's something more that we should be doing. Right. Like maybe Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Toledo, Columbus need a little bit more, or maybe we need to focus more on just Northeast Ohio. Right. Like, we want to give ourselves the flexibility to be listening back to the community and those, quite frankly, those community partners and what they're thinking that what they need.
One of the things that's kind of exciting for me, and I was thinking about it, that gives you guys a leg up is just naturally when the WNBA schedule occurs, right? Like it's in the summer. If there's a time to showcase Cleveland, it is in the summer, where the weather is nice, it's got a beautiful downtown. How much of, having the opportunity to be part of the fabric of downtown, like what does that mean to you, and what kind of opportunities come as a result of that?
So I love that you said the fabric, because that is how we really feel. We really want this team to be literally woven into the fabric of this entire community. And so what does that mean? It means when we design the brand and we're thinking about the players that we're going to select and the ones that are going to be our coach, our general manager, the coaching staff, like they really have to resonate and be a part of Cleveland. And I mean, I remember when I interviewed a year and a half ago for the Cavs role, and I interviewed with Kobe Altman. And one of his first questions was, why do you want to be in Cleveland? Because we only want people that are going to be dedicated to the city, because you are not just coming here to drive revenue or sell tickets. You are coming here to make this city better. And that goes for everybody. And if that is coming from Kobe Altman, who is running, one of the most successful NBA teams ever, then that just kind of goes to show you how important this team is and how important all of those different hires are going to be. Like, you're really going to want to be dedicated to Cleveland.
That's amazing to hear, and it's a cool insight into the difference between public messaging and private messaging, because like every org in sports is going to say publicly, we care about the town, we care about the community. That's just like part and parcel. Like, no one gets away with not doing that anymore, right? But to know that behind the scenes, in an interview setting, that kind of thing is being kind of doubled down on. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a special thing to hear, and For if you are someone who's skeptical of that kind of, of those kind of messages coming from an org, it's really cool to hear like that it's happening in spots we don't get to hear and we don't get to see as outsiders.
And we're really deliberate. Even, I just accepted 2 board positions, one on West Side Market and the other one on the Providence House. And we are very deliberate that not only our senior leaders, but everybody down is focused on boards that is going to change the city for the better. And it's really, really important to us. And especially, with Dan's company, Bedrock, which Nick will have a more elevated interest role in that, that is developing Cleveland. I mean, $3.5 billion that we're investing into this city between the riverfront and where the Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center and that whole development there, right out. I mean, I keep pointing, like your viewers can see me pointing with the white wall behind me, but right across the street on the parking lot outside of Rocket Arena. I mean, there is going to be a huge development there where Cosm is going to go, and all of this, like, just great things that are coming. I have an 8th grade boy and a 10th grade boy, and I love to tell, especially my 8th grader, you are not going to recognize Cleveland when you graduate from high school in 5 years. Like in 2030, this city is not going to look like it does now. There's so much investment and there's so much growth, and it's just going to be, the W will be, another big part of it.
How much of a leg up does it give you to kind of have these facilities in place, right? Like you got a premium arena in Rocket Arena. The team's going to be able to practice at Cleveland Clinic courts. Like what type of advantage is that for an expansion team?
It's huge, right? And it's huge. I mean, this week, I was walking down at the event level and figuring out where the W locker room is going to be, where the visiting locker room is going to be, how much that's going to adjust, all the construction. And remember, I mean, there's very few dark days at Rocket Arena. I mean, this place is constantly humming. So to have major construction for new locker room space, new saunas, new tubs, like all the things that we need here takes a lot. And so same with the training center, right? The Cleveland Clinic courts out in Independence, well, come February 2027, hopefully during the All-Star break, the guys are going to go away on All-Star break, and then they're going to come back and they're going to go across the street from us at Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center. So then we have almost a full year to go into Independence and reconfigure that for the women. And we've already started talking with some architects that are working with the women's W teams, especially because there's a lot. I don't know if you guys have been able to be out in Independence, but
we have.
It is gorgeous. I mean, it is this, you get like immediate serenity, like you're surrounded by the woods. There's glass all on one side. It's absolutely beautiful. It's huge. There's tons of space. We do not skimp on any type of the equipment that the guys need, and we certainly won't for the women. But, women athletes are different, and there is going to be some new equipment that we need, and we are going to want to refresh it, right? And make it the new W home. And so, but it's Botox and filler. It's not a full facelift. So it's totally doable to do in 2027.
Yeah. And what an advantage does that provide? And just in terms of like recruiting and getting players to want to come to Cleveland. I mean, because that's not always going to be the case. Like even at the NBA level, we always hear about what teams have the best facilities, what teams maybe don't have the best facilities. And when players get to places like what they're going to run into with the Cleveland WNBA franchise, they're going to be like, damn, they're going to take care of us here.
Yeah. I mean, I think, this is where we can take a really great lesson from our Cavs players who have been so vocal about how much they love Cleveland. And the men's teams or the male athletes have been vocal of saying, I don't have to be in New York anymore. I don't have to be in LA. I don't have to be in San Francisco. Like, I can be in the market I want to be in that's going to do for me what I want. They're going to give me the best training. They're going to give me the best coaches. They're going to create a true player first mentality. And they're going to give me all of these resources to be the best player. And I think it is going to be very obvious very soon as we can really start having those conversations with the players, that they are going to recognize that Cleveland is going to be where they want to be.
Awesome. It's so exciting to hear all this stuff. I'm buzzing right now. I do want to ask you about what you kind of opened your statements at the media event this week with, which is that you want the Cleveland WNBA franchise to be the most inclusive franchise in sports. And I know the value of representation firsthand. I have a 5-year-old daughter who, when I have the men's hoops on, she'll glance over. But when I put the W on, she's like, what's going on? Who's that? What's her name? What's going on? And you get to really see the way she's glued to the screen. And even when she's just shooting hoops on our little hoop, she doesn't yell Kobe when she shoots. She yells Caitlin Clark. Like, she is like all in and so excited about this. Can you speak a little bit why inclusivity is a value that you value so much for this organization?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this organization values it from the top down everywhere, right? Like, we just believe in treating everybody with respect, and the diversity of backgrounds, diversity of thought, talking and working with people that do not look like you, have different beliefs than you, as long as they are good, kind beliefs, not hurtful, harmful beliefs. I want to be clear about that. That's a fabric of who we are, right? And so, I think it's been very welcoming to hear from guys like you, Carter, right? Who, you have your 5-year-old daughter, and this is really important to you, as well as people that, again, don't look like you and are a different sex, maybe a different sexual orientation, right? Or different religious beliefs. But sports is supposed to bring people together. This is why I have dedicated my life to working in sports. It is so emotional and it is so passionate, but it is supposed to be joyful, and it is supposed to bring us really good memories. And I think there is still this really great part about women's sports that is still shelters our fans a bit, where you do come in, even if you're, everybody wants to win, but like, you are coming for something that's bigger than just that game, right? You are coming, Carter, to show your little girl or my 14-year-old boy that, like, girls can hoop, right? And women can be professional athletes and be respected. Like, women can do anything that men can do on different levels. And so I think what's helping is it's just raising up this respect value of seeing people in a new, more positive light. And quite frankly, like, the more diverse of an audience that we have, the better for everybody. Like, yeah. I truly believe, this probably sounds a little bit hokey, but if you had 2 minutes to spend with almost anybody, a total stranger, you could find probably quite a few similarities. And I think sports can help bridge that gap for us, and in a world where we probably feel a little fragmented right now.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I was kind of getting in my feels hearing you talk about that, because, there is like this, even the idea that to my little girl and to my 2-year-old son, there isn't a delineation that the idea that women couldn't be pro athletes wouldn't even, the idea that might never enter her field of view is a really special thing. And this kind of, a franchise like this launching right nearby to where I live, I'm in Columbus, like that kind of crystallizes those kind of dreams and hopes for, all the girls in our life. So it's really, really cool.
Well, And you have to see her to be her.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter has to see these players in order to be able to dream it, or they have to see an Allison Howard as a president of a sports team and understand, my path to know she can do that if she wants, right? She could be a commissioner of the league. Like, it's all the pathways are available. But if you don't literally see a female in these positions, in these spotlights, it's hard to just create that in your mind.
It's so exciting because it just sounds like all the priorities are in the right place, right? Like the community engagement that's just like so fundamental, having this big welcoming tent, right, where everybody can come in. It gives you a shared experience that can lead to so many other conversations, right? Like, I don't, unlike Carter, I don't have any kids, but like, what you were saying resonates to me because sports is such a big connector, just like the friendship I've formed with Carter, the relationships, the people all over the world that, reach out to us because they listen to the podcast and they care about the Cavs and all the conversations that come from that. Like, it just seems like the priorities are in the right spot. And to me, that's really exciting for someone that, didn't grow up in Cleveland, has never lived there, but loves the city, loves the community. Like, that's the kind of stuff that drew me in and has been sticky, through all the ups and downs of the franchise.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because, I think the city really is, the sixth woman here. She deserves it. The people of Cleveland deserve this team. The commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, had, we knocked it out of the ballpark, right? Like, with our bid. I mean, she didn't say this in the press conference, but she had told us, like, this was the most impressive bid that the league had seen, right? And it really was about the city and how much we knew it would be successful. So we knew that the investment was worth it.
You mentioned successful. What does success look like for you in 2028 when, fans are walking into their first game? Like, what are your metrics for success going into that big day?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, of course, I'm a revenue person, so sure. I'm going to want to have, the best, partnership for both of the, we have the chest patch, and then we have the stomach patch. We've got the Independence Training Center. We've got some community engagement platforms where corporate partners can be involved. So this is, financially, we need to be successful because we need to prove to brands, invest in us, and my return to you, our return to you, will be very, very worthwhile, both from a financial as well as an energy, as well as positivity, as well as your own employee give, like whatever your objective is. So that would be very important to me, is to have us surrounded by good corporate partners. Sell out. I definitely want a sellout crowd, without question. Now, especially with the Valkyries, already making it into playoffs, would love to make it a playoff. And then with the community, making sure that people feel connected to us and that they feel like this team represents them, no matter who you are. And so just them feeling like even if they're not a member, right, and they can't come to every game, that they feel like we are speaking on behalf of them, that they know who these players are, they know what we represent. And then I want to expand out into more community programming, especially for girls in basketball.
That's super exciting. Well, you've been incredibly generous with your time. I'll get you out here with one more question. We know that the brand is set to be announced some point in 2026. What goes into the process of developing that brand identity, and how much fun has it been to start from scratch with something like this?
That has been one of the most fun things. So the conversations, quite frankly, started multiple months ago, just with a small group of us here that work at REG, just kind of circulating and sitting on some ideas. Like, this is something we are not going to rush. We can't, we need to get it right. I can't have a Crackle Barrel situation happen here. No, in all honesty. But I think we've also seen some brand launches not go as well, right? Boston, Utah with their hockey team, just some things that haven't gone as well. So I think there's, we don't want to rush anything. So what we've done is we're working with a woman-owned business that's here in Northeast Ohio to help us with a brand survey to go out blindly so that we are not, because we're so close to this and we feel so passionate about it and we're like living and breathing this every day. We don't want to put our own biases on this, right? We really want to make sure that we are listening to the community. So that brand survey should wrap up in the next couple of months. And then again, our hope is January, February to be able to have a big brand launch party because we love our parties.
Yeah,
That is super exciting.
Super exciting. And it's cool to hear how you're kind of engaging the community for it, because I totally understand like that, your lens can get really myopic really fast when you're just looking at the same set of, images way too close every day, bouncing the same ideas around. And you can almost like distort your field of view, can kind of get distorted and you can kind of get lost in the sauce. So it's really cool that it's a joint effort of like, hey, not only are we have a point of view here and we have our own ideas about what this needs to be, but we need to reflect that back to the community and make sure that we're finding that happy medium.
Yeah. I think it's being woven into everything that we're doing, quite frankly, is we really do want to hear from the community. So that the brand and the colors and, and when we get to the mascot, that's going to be a whole other thing because as you know, with a W, well, Ellie is the one to beat.
Yes.
She is number one. So, it's all fun though. It's all fun.
Well, we eagerly await, the brand announcement and everything along this road to 2028. Thank you so much for spending the time talking to us. We really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to meet you guys. Thank you for having me on.